Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for visiting the YouTube channel for bestbiblecommentaries.com. In this video, I'm going to talk about the best Ecclesiastes commentaries in 3 different categories. I'm going to talk about the best introductory commentary, the best mid-level commentary, and the best technical commentary on the book of Ecclesiastes based on aggregate academic reviews. If you're new to my channel, that's how I like to organize books, by aggregate academic reviews. Before I get into it, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. Also, clicking the thumbs up button really helps me out on YouTube, so I'd appreciate your consideration doing that. As always, feel free to leave a comment or ask a question in the comment section below. Also, in the description box below the video, I'm going to put links to each of these books to Amazon, so feel free to use those. I'm also going to put a link to my page on my website on the best Ecclesiastes commentaries, so you can see where these volumes fall in the top 10 on the top 10 list for Ecclesiastes overall. All right, and as always, just a reminder, please use my videos and my website as a starting point. I'm not trying to have the final word. I'm just trying to have a word and provide helpful information to point you in the right direction to find the right resources. You can completely disagree with me. It's totally fine. You can do that in the comment section. Just know I'm trying to organize academic reviews, and just please keep everything cordial if you disagree with me, but it's no problem if you do. All right, so first up, the best introductory commentary on the book of Ecclesiastes based on aggregate academic reviews is The Message of Ecclesiastes by Derek Kidner in the Bible Speaks Today commentary series. This series actually has a new cover design, so I just wanted to show you it, even though this is the Exodus volume. I'm just showing you if you bought this new today, this is what it would look like. The Message of Ecclesiastes by Derek Kidner was published in 1976. It is 110 pages in length. Even if you've never read a Bible commentary before, or you've never read, if you're not familiar with Ecclesiastes, I think you would do just fine with this commentary. So, and that's what I mean by introductory. I do not mean it's superficial by any means. That's not synonymous with my description of an introductory commentary. It just means you don't have to be familiar with other resources in order to follow along and maximize the explanations that Kidner gives. All right, so the first academic review comes from the Journal of the Evangelical Theological Society. The reviewer said, "I found this a delightful book to read. It's certainly not in the technical category," he says, and I would add, according to my description, it's not in the mid-level category either. The reviewer says it's certainly not in the technical category, but Kidner does interact with other views. You don't always find that in introductory commentaries when an author comes to a passage that's debated and he gives the different perspectives on the passage and then often will give what his opinion is and why. But Kidner does do that, so you wouldn't think he did in 110 pages, but he actually does that, and he does it quite well. The reviewer concludes, this is the Jets article, the reviewer concludes, "To read this little volume on Ecclesiastes was a pleasure, and now to suggest that others do the same, is my happy duty." So very high praise for this volume. The entire English text of Ecclesiastes is printed in the commentary. So it's pretty easy to read, and Derek Kidner is an excellent writer. So very high praise for this particular volume. One other one. I had 2 academic reviews for this one. The second one, real quick, is from Bibliotheca Sacra, which is the journal for Dallas Theological Seminary. The reviewer is Roy Zuck in this case. Some of you might be familiar with him. He says, "The terse, carefully chosen, pungent words of this little exposition on Ecclesiastes match the pointed words of Kohelet himself." Now, I said that word Kohelet. If you read in Ecclesiastes, in most English translations, you will come across the speaker is often translated with the word preacher. It depends on the translation you use. I think most of the major English translations render that word preacher. The Hebrew word there is Kohelet, and so that's why the reviewer says that this little exposition on Ecclesiastes matched the pointed words of Kohelet himself, meaning that Derek Kidner has wisdom similar to how the preacher in Ecclesiastes also has wisdom. So very high praise. I wanted to show you one other option that's kind of it's introductory. Yeah, I'd probably call it introductory, but I just wanted to give you another option because I'm going to talk about this one in just a second, the best mid-level. option for Ecclesiastes, but there's an issue with this. I don't think it's a big issue, but some people do. So if you do think it's an issue, that's fine. Feel free to disagree with me, like I say. But I just wanted to give one other option kind of in this general category, because if a preacher is preaching expositionally, if they're preaching verse by verse through Ecclesiastes, looking for helpful resources, I don't know if this would be enough. It's only 110 pages. So I wanted to give one other option that's very well reviewed, that's kind of around this introductory mid-level category. And that would be this, Ecclesiastes in the Preaching the Word series by Philip Graham Ryken. This series also has a different cover design now, so just wanted to show you that. So if you find Ecclesiastes by Philip Graham Ryken in the Preaching the Word series, it's going to be the same content, minus one thing, and that's the English translation. The NIV is used in the Preaching the Word series with this cover design. When they move to this white cover design, they're using the ESV, so that's the only difference. This Ecclesiastes commentary is based on sermons that Philip Graham Ryken gave on the book of Ecclesiastes. I would describe it as a passage-by-passage commentary, but the key verses and key terms are all explained. And so you can use this series as a devotional aid. Pastors use this series when they're preaching through the book of Ecclesiastes. This volume is very well reviewed for how Philip Graham Ryken relates the book of Ecclesiastes to today. So there's a lot of theological reflection, a lot of application suggestions, because this material was all preached. He preached all this material at his church. And so anyway, this might be an option for some of you as well. So now we get to the best reviewed mid-level commentary on Ecclesiastes, and I'll explain a little about what the issue is. So Tremper Longman is the author, and it's the New International Commentary in the Old Testament series, or the NICOT series. This is one of the best reviewed commentary series. Pastors absolutely love this series, and this volume is very well reviewed. This commentary is 306 pages in length, and it was published in 1998. Tremper Longman, if you're not familiar with him, has received very, very high praise as a commentator. And if you've never read him before, I would encourage you, maybe if it's not this volume, a different volume, to read him. So you will learn a lot. Okay, so the academic review I have is from the Journal for the Society of Biblical Literature. And the reviewer says that Longman is intentionally evangelical, and that Longman has clear evangelical commitments. Okay, but Longman doesn't believe that Solomon wrote the book of Ecclesiastes like many conservatives do, and that so now end quote. So now I'm speaking now, and this is the criticism that some offer about this volume is Longman's approach to the authorship issue. Now, with the academic reviews that I read, I will say that not many, I don't think I came across any that agreed with Longman's take on the authorship issue. So Longman believes that most of Ecclesiastes is made up of thoughts attributed to Solomon by a wise teacher, while a second author, called a frame narrator, wrote the introduction and the conclusion to the book. And if you're familiar with Ecclesiastes, you know how crucial the introduction and conclusion are to the overall interpretation of the book. So I will say, by way of personal testimony, that I have used this commentary quite a bit. I am not persuaded by Longman's argument regarding the author, but that did not stop me from using this and benefiting from it. So you might fall into that category. It all comes down if a person wants to read with discernment, and some people don't mind that. I don't mind that personally. I have a lot of commentaries on my shelf where I don't agree with everything 100%. But some people don't want to read with discernment for different reasons, and I understand that, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to give you a couple of options on the more introductory side end of the spectrum. So the conclusion from the journal article for this volume says this: in the end, this verse-by-verse commentary is to be commended for its breadth, insight, and clarity. Its hermeneutical key, however, will not work for all of us. So I think that's a perfect summary of the reviews I read on this volume, that there's sort of a compliment. I mean, there is a compliment for sure, and sort of a criticism and just kind of a heads up, you're not going to agree with this kind of a thought. So he says that the commentary is to be commended for its breadth, insight, and clarity. Everyone said that. Every reviewer just praised this volume. But then almost every reviewer also said the hermeneutical key in this author's words, or, the approach to authorship issue, is going to be probably questioned by a lot of people. Not the reviewer's take, but my take, my personal opinion is I don't think that should stop you from using this volume. Okay, last one. Best technical commentary on the book of Ecclesiastes based on aggregate academic reviews is from the JPS Bible Commentary series. And this commentary is written by Michael Fox, who has written several books on Ecclesiastes. It is 128 pages in length, which is a little bit surprising because Ecclesiastes is 12 chapters, and technical commentary authors tend to be long-winded in addition to writing in a technical nature. This is only 128 pages, and I'll show you in a moment. The content is really not that condensed. It was also published in 2004. Now, if you've never used a JPS commentary, here's one of the interesting features. The book opens the wrong way. That's sort of a joke. All the books I've shown you so far, they open right to left. This one does not. It opens from left to right. So I didn't really mean it's wrong. I'm just joking around. So here's the title page. Okay. And let's get into some of the meat here. So here's the introduction. There we go. So this is kind of the layout of the JPS series. Is you have a Hebrew on the right side column. You have the translation on the left side column. It's kind of the above the fold, the top of the page, and then you have a commentary down below. So you can see it's a larger book for sure, but the words are really not that condensed, and so 120 pages or 128 pages. It's definitely on the shorter end. So if someone doesn't know Hebrew, they'd be able to maximize this commentary. No, you're not going to be able to maximize it. Were you able to benefit to a certain degree? Yeah, you would. But you're probably going to be spending a little bit more for a little bit less as far as the information you're able to glean from it. A little bit more money for a little bit less information. All right, so academic review from this volume from Bibliotheca Sacra again. Fox rejects Solomon as the author of Ecclesiastes, but there are echoes of him in the book. Okay, that's Fox saying that there are echoes of Solomon in the book. The author, Fox's argument is that the author of Ecclesiastes intentionally presented contradictory viewpoints in order to establish his thesis in the book. Fox says that Ecclesiastes' conclusion may be the author himself, who created Kohelet, again, that's the preacher, who created Kohelet as a fictional figure. However, Kohelet would agree with the epilogue because it's making his point just more emphatically. So the summary from BibSac is that Fox's strengths are his exegesis, his interpretive insight, and his clarity. I will say that some conservatives likely will not be comfortable with some of the critical approaches that Fox takes. Nevertheless, based on aggregate academic reviews, this is the best reviewed technical commentary on the book of Ecclesiastes. All right. Well, I hope this video has been helpful to you. Thank you for watching it. Feel free to leave comments, ask questions down below, and I just really appreciate you visiting my channel, watching my videos.